Hi, welcome in everyone. We're gonna wait just a little bit, let everyone log in here. Hello everyone, welcome in. I'm gonna give it just a couple more seconds for people to log in and get settled. Right, looks like it's gonna be evening out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover tonight. Welcome. Tonight we're gonna be talking about executive functioning. So the secret skill your student needs. So kind of something that's not super talked about a lot, but hopefully you guys will find a lot of helpful information as we go through this and learn a little bit more about what an executive function and EF coach really does. My name is Heather. I'm a premium tutor here at Appleroot. I've been here for about 6 years now, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about this. I do ask that you hold your questions until the end, because hopefully I'm able to answer most of them. But there will be time for questions at the end, and this will be recorded and sent to you as well. So if you missed something or you want to go back and look at some slides or whatever, that's totally possible. But let's go ahead and get started. So what is executive function, right? That's where we start. So it really has 3 pillars you'll see here at the bottom: working memory, cognitive flexibility, and self-control. So the idea behind this is how you kind of organize your brain to do everyday tasks, right? Working memory is that memory you have stored in your brain, kind of in between short and long term, right? So let's say you're at home and you're like, okay, I need to get milk later. You're going to store that in your head until a couple hours later. That's kind of the memory you're working with day to day. Cognitive flexibility, your ability to kind of change as things come up, right? So let's say you were going to go get milk later, but your car breaks down. You have to rearrange your day, rearrange your schedule a little bit. And your ability to do that, while also, controlling any reactions you may have as well, right? That doesn't completely derail your day. You're able to adjust. And self-control again, right? Knowing that you have to go to the gym, even though you don't want to, and making yourself do it, right, at the end of the day. So these are just a couple random examples from everyday life. We'll see how this applies to schoolwork too as we go throughout the presentation. Again, some other skills we see related to this: planning, prioritization, right? Is it more important that I go get my car fixed or I get the milk from the grocery store? Goal setting, follow through, self-regulation. Again, I'm not letting myself get upset about those small things. I'm able to, move along and adjust as needed. So again, all kinds of skills that really do apply a lot to schoolwork, but apply a lot to other, parts of your life as well. So again, a little bit more specific definition: the cognitive processes that are necessary for controlling your behavior, right? So managing yourself, your resources, monitoring your behaviors that facilitate the attainment of your goals. So again, we're kind of getting really big picture here, but we'll see as we go through how this really relates to students. So executive functions are skills, right? Even though they don't sound like skills in the regular way. So planning is a skill. Even though if someone asked you, what skill you're really good at, you may say tennis or knitting or something, right? Planning is something too that people can be good at, thinking about, I have to do these 3 things. What's the best order to do them in, right? How do I go about getting this done? Prioritization, organization, goal attainment, time management, self-regulation, and monitoring, all other ones. There's no hierarchy to any of these skills either. Every person is different. Every person's going to have different abilities at each of these, right? So people probably are really good at planning, but bad at prioritization, vice versa. And these are the kind of things that are frequently found lacking in people diagnosed with ADHD. So you'll see this is, if you know someone or your student has ADHD, right, you'll see some things that kind of make sense here as we go throughout. But it doesn't only apply, right? So it can apply to people who are not neurodivergent as well. It can apply to anyone really, adults and kids. So what do we work with as an executive function coach, right? What are those foundational skills you're trying to work on to help your student kind of be able to do these things on their own in the future, right? Impulse control, that working memory, emotional control, right? Flexibility, adjusting to changes, sustained attention, that's a hard one, task initiation, actually getting started with the thing, right? Um, some advanced skills, right? Planning, prioritizing, organization. Again, a little more complicated than just doing the worksheet. Which worksheet do I need to do first, right? What's more important here? Time management, right? Time management is a lot of things all together. It's a phrase we use a lot, but if you think about it, it involves starting the task, thinking about what tasks to do first, sitting there and paying attention, doing the tasks, right? Guessing how long it's going to take. So even though we use that phrase a lot, that phrase actually has a lot in it, inside of it as well. Persistence, right? And metacognition, this last word you'll see here, right? So this word you'll see a little bit throughout the presentation. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. A little weird, right? It's crazy to think your brain's thinking about itself. But really thinking about what was my thought process there and why did I do that? And what can I do in the future to help myself make a better decision, right? It's kind of larger picture stuff. So, right, they'll help in school, right? This all makes sense so far, right? Again, thinking about homework and schoolwork and goals. And they help in life too, right? We talked about a couple of real life situations where they work. It's going to help you become more effective at everything you do, right? Being able to kind of plan things out a little bit better and get goals done better is going to help you in the end, no matter what you're looking for. So if you can cultivate these skills, maybe even train yourself to have, different reactions than you did before, you can start to be, again, just a more effective person in a lot of different areas of your life. So highly transferable. And again, they generalize to most areas of life. And, this is for students of all ages and adults too, right? I know a lot of adults who could use some of this as well. So students will grow in EF over time, right? So again, if you think about the way a kindergartner can handle, doing sight word homework versus the amount of homework your high schoolers is getting, they're definitely getting more advanced, right, with their executive functioning skills. Some students do benefit from support in big points of change, right? So again, big changes from middle school to high school and things like that. Some students need a little bit of extra support to kind of get themselves on the right track as far as their executive functioning goes. And coaching is just one form of support you can do with students with EF challenges. So this is just one thing we'll talk about. And again, this is kind of what I'll focus on here, the EF coaching that AppWorth does. So things that, can kind of tell you maybe your student or, if you're a student watching this, you may have some trouble with your executive functioning. So if you have trouble keeping track of your schoolwork, your deadlines, your assignments, right? And that's not just like, I think it's due next week, but I don't remember if it's Wednesday or Thursday. That's kind of like, I don't even know how many essays I have to do for this class, right? Kind of a little bigger thing. Prioritizing, right? Doing the right thing, but at the wrong time. So you did do the essay, but you did it 3 days after it was due. Not quite right there, right? Following directions on assignments, right? So again, just not paying as much attention as you could. Starting tasks, moving from one task to another, managing yourself to not get distracted, right? Managing other impulses. Again, things you see with students who are having a hard time in school. It's not that they're not smart, or they don't know how to do the material. It's that this kind of stuff is what's really stopping them, right? And getting in their way. And they may come across as unmotivated, right? But that's not true, right? Lower performance may be confused with a lack of motivation, effort, or concern as if they don't care about school, right? But really, it's a lack of skill, not will, right? These students want to do well, but they feel frustrated, right? Because they don't know why they can't start these projects. They don't know why they can't finish it. They don't know why they have such trouble thinking of deadlines and things, right? And again, it's not their fault. It's just these skills they need to learn to manage that bigger stuff will then help them actually manage the schoolwork itself later on. And so, if they've been frustrated for years on this, it could come across as, not really caring, because you can only be frustrated for so long, right? And so if you give them some strategies to do this bigger picture, functioning, you give them some successes, then motivation is going to return, right? And so really it's kind of building the kids' confidence back up as well as these skills we see. So, some typical EF students we get, here's some quotes you would hear for them, right? Some days I can get work done, others I feel stuck, right? I don't know when to do my work. I get overwhelmed and it's hard for me to start anything. If I get behind even a little bit, I just completely sink. I mess around on my phone, I get distracted, my parents yell at me, that I'm stressed and I do what I can, but I don't do well on it, right? This is all kinds of stuff we hear over and over again, right? And again, it's not that they don't know the material, so they just can't get organized, right? And get themselves to do the homework, the projects, the essays. And so students at all levels can benefit, right? So we talked about periods of change as well earlier, right? So, times where things are changing, right? From middle to high school is a huge change, right? So in middle school, you are a little bit more managed and supported by your teachers. You probably do have to go to different classes and stuff, but you're often kept, in a big support area, right? Where, you don't need to work on your own schedule, things like that. High school, you're kind of let go, right? You have these classes, it's your job to get there and handle it yourself. And then again, college is a whole different game, right? They don't even make sure you go to your classes, which is a typical thing a lot of students fall into in college. So again, these periods of change, it's hard, right? Because it's easy to allow yourself to forget those skills or to be intimidated by these new skills you need to do, right? Or these more advanced versions of the skills. And so it'll look different for students at all kinds of different levels, right? The complexity of tasks, the amount of freedom and choice are going to vary significantly. Again, if you're looking at the list of things a college student has to get done in a week versus the list of things that an elementary school student has to get done in a week, very different stuff there. And so the beginning of the school year is pivotal, right? The students have an opportunity to establish good habits, and that will carry them through the whole year. A lot of times what we see students come in at the end of the semester or like 3/4 of the way through. It's already there. The grades have already fallen. They're already stressed. Their parents are stressed. They're, again, 4 projects behind in every single class. It's hard to come back from that, right? Without absolutely exhausting yourself. So if you're starting earlier, you can avoid that, right? You can get ahead of a lot of these things. You can, get into these good habits. You can, not get as overwhelmed by the end of the semester. So when students don't get support, the work can be harder, right? So again, if they're frustrated for so long, they can start to say, I'm bad at this, right? Or I don't care, this is stupid, or I don't know why, the terrible teacher or something, right? So they begin to check out and kind of give up a little bit, right? And then you can get like some resistance as well. So again, if you're starting earlier, you're kind of setting them up for a better ending at the end of the semester. So metacognition coming back, right? So thinking about your thinking, understanding how you learn, right, is one way. Maybe you have a student who is just, they cannot sit and pay attention while someone's giving a PowerPoint, right? Figuring out tools to do that. How do you support that? Do you go home and then read the chapter you talked about? Do you make sure you're taking really good notes during the PowerPoint? Things like that. Calibration of your comprehension. After, seeing someone do an example math problem, do you understand exactly what they did? You can tell me what they did, but do you understand why they did what they did, right? Being able to say that about yourself and knowing when you need help, when it's time for a break, what strategies to use. This is really high level thinking if you think about it, right? Again, you're thinking about your own self thinking and your own learning. Self-awareness, right? So you can reflect upon your own performance and you understand what are your strengths and weaknesses, right? Your true ones. So students who know what they are good at are much better off than those who only know everything they're bad at, right? Again, kind of that feeling of overwhelm, being overwhelmed here isn't helpful at all. So you want to teach students to reflect, right? It's a big part of our coaching, looking back and be like, what went wrong here, right? Or how did that work for me? What didn't work? What did work? How can I learn, right? And encouraging the student to do that throughout, on their own, even without this coaching, right? We're putting up this scaffolding and then we're going to slowly take it away so the student can be self-sufficient. So there's 3 stages of getting things done, right? Where we really kind of get down and think about, when you sit down to do your homework, what's going on there? You have to actually start the task. You have to start it and then say, I'm going to finish it. And then you actually have to finish it too, right? So there's 3 pieces here and they're all important in their own way, of course. So in the beginning, actually breaking through and starting it. So some students have no problem getting their homework started. They'll just do a couple problems and go, right? Some will avoid it and delay it as long as they can, right? Everyone's different and we approach these 2 issues differently. So skill building is key, right? So here, our EF coaches give the student a chance to take the first attempt at a solution, right? Do you have any ideas? Do you know what, stopping you here? Some students know, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do it. So I play on my phone, then I say I'm going to go to bed instead, right? And some students don't know. They're like, honestly, I don't know. I just feel frozen there. So, starting by encouraging them to start this thinking, right? Not coming across as someone who's like diagnosing them or like, this is your problem. A coach is truly that, right? Someone there to encourage the students. Planning the steps, right? So you want to plan backwards, right? So think about all the steps in completing a task. So there's a lot more steps and a lot of tasks that we think about here, right? Doing your homework even is one thing, right? First of all, you have to pay attention in class and they tell you what the homework is, write it down or whatever you do. Then if it's like a worksheet, you have to make sure you put it somewhere where you'll find it later. You have to get home, use that working memory saying, oh yeah, they gave me a math worksheet over earlier today. Go find it, sit down, grab all the pencils, grab a water, move your phone so you don't play on it, start it, finish it, right? Actually persist through to finish it. It's actually a lot more steps than just do your worksheet, right? There's a lot more things there, and there's a lot more opportunities for the students to get distracted or where things can get in the way. Other things too, right? So office hours are on Wednesday and assignments due Friday. So, okay, they give it to me on a Monday. I should try to look at it Monday or Tuesday. So if I do need help, I can go to office hours on Wednesday. Doing the worksheet on Thursday doesn't help, right? Because even if you are confused, it's too late, office hours are over and it's due tomorrow. You're gonna have to do it one way or the other, right? So again, working backwards here, thinking about things like these dates, or even thinking about, hey, I have an essay due at the end of this month. I know the weekend before I'm out of town for a sports tournament. So I just know I'm not gonna be able to work on it on that weekend. So I'm gonna have to work on it 2 weekends before. Again, thinking that ahead is important, right? Because you're saving yourself a lot of stress, right, later on. And again, you're supporting yourself and making sure that you get the best work done that you can. So again, things like that are difficult for students with EF issues, right? So helping them do this is a big part of it, right? Actually, just looking at a calendar is a big part of it, really. So how do you do that, right? You have to encourage students to think about how they do it, what they do, right? So they have to become more self-reflective. What was your goal here to do the worksheet? Where did you start? I guess I put it in my backpack. What strategies did you use? I remembered it was due on Friday, so I did it on Thursday. Okay, what other stuff can we do, right? What will you do next time instead? I'll remember that office hours are on Wednesday instead, right? And think about those consequences. So asking them and walking them through that thought process and kind of, seeing the places where they may have diverged, right? Or where there's opportunities to do it better, to do it more effectively. That's skill building, right? You're developing long-term competencies by letting them work through that thought process that they went through and kind of see, okay, what doesn't really make sense here? Even though I did it, I did this process, it doesn't make sense if we sit down and really think about it. So, okay, we know when we should plan to actually do things, we have to actually do them now. So persistence, right? Being organized really helps a lot here. Organization of your thoughts. Again, I know I got to get this done on Monday or on Tuesday, whatever. I'm prepared for it. It's not a surprise. I'm not going to get home and think that I only have, 30 minutes worth of homework and I'm going to play video games after. I know I have to do this worksheet and I know it's going to take me a while. Organization of your digital space too, right? So maybe it isn't a paper worksheet. Maybe it is on whatever system your school uses for online homework, right? Well, do you have the link to that page bookmarked or do you have to Google it every time? Do you have your login saved? Do you know where it's going, right? Or do you have 1,000 Word documents downloaded as document 1, document 2, document 3, right? Making these things easier to find is just going to help you. Same for physical space too, right? Again, that worksheet, did you stuff it in your backpack? Is your backpack a nightmare, right? Can I find that easily? Do I know where a pencil is? Do I have a surface to do this on, a desk or a kitchen table or something? Things that seem really basic, but if you don't have a surface to do it on, before you can even think about doing the homework, you have to then clear off a table. And then it's, where did all the stuff that was on the table go, et cetera, et cetera. These are, roadblocks that we don't need to have, right? We can save ourselves from these. So learning to organize and create these structures on a larger macro level will help us at the micro level, right? When we're actually doing the homework, right? Because we felt prepared for it at the end of the night. So again, engineer your environment, right? Make it easier for you to make the right choice. When you create a more disciplined environment, you have to rely less on your actual willpower. If your desk is already cleared off, it's easy to sit down and use it, right? Instead of if there's a bunch of junk on top of it. If you, a lot of strategies are like, I only sit at my desk when I'm doing homework. I don't sit down there to do anything else. So that makes me think whenever I'm sitting at my desk, it's homework time. Vice versa, right? A lot of people only get in their bed when it's time to sleep. They don't actually hang out or watch TV or play video games or anything. This kind of tells their brain that when they're in bed, it's time to sleep. We don't do anything else, right? So again, kind of helping and manipulate your brain, again, metacognition, to make the right choices in the right spaces in your house even. So again, good study environment, minimize distractions, right? Do I need to have my phone right there? I really don't. I really don't. I probably should put it in the other room. I should leave it in the kitchen or something while I sit at my desk and do homework. Use a regular study area, right? Like what I was just saying, when your body gets to that place, it knows what to do. When I sit down at this desk, I only do homework. I don't do anything else. Use other tools to help you focus, right? Maybe there's a certain kind of music that helps you. Maybe you always chew gum while you do homework. Maybe you let yourself get into your PJs early to do it. All kinds of things, right, that can really work here. Digital environment too, right? We talked about this, managing your desktop, your bookmarks, right? Keep all your learning portals close by so you don't have to try to find them. Manage your computer interface. Do you have 1,000 tabs open? Do not have 1,000 tabs open, because then if your worksheet takes forever to load, that is not helping you at all, is it, right? If you have tons of notifications popping up and things like that, we want to minimize those, because when we're working right here, we need to be focused on working. So how do we inhibit those things, right? Know yourself, right? If you get a notification on your laptop that your best friend sent you a text, you're going to read it and you're going to respond. So maybe we turn off the notifications on our laptop when we're doing homework, right? Where do you go to waste time? Again, do we have my phone right beside me? Do I have a TV on at the same time doing my homework? All kinds of things like that. There's lots of tools to do this too, right? There's even website blockers. These are just a couple examples of things that, even if you try to go look at TikTok, it'll take you off of it, right? And shift from things like playing on your phone or gaming to doodling, right? Something different. It could even be something like knitting, right? Okay, I can either do this worksheet or I can sit here and knit. At least one is productive. They're both productive, right? Better than gaming or just playing on your phone. Again, so choose your distractions, make them a little better. Maybe you go lift weights every time you get distracted. You do 10 reps or something. Again, something a little bit more productive, and that's less easy to kind of dive into and get lost into. Make what's hard easy and what's easy hard, right? So again, same thing. If gaming or social media gets in the way, make it hard to access. Keep your phone in another room when you're doing your homework. If planning isn't easy, how can you make it easier for yourself, right? What can I do, right? If there's a shortcut, let's see if we can take it. Use clocks, watches, timers, helps you make sure you build in good breaks. Doing an hour and a half straight worth of homework is way harder than doing homework in 30-minute intervals and giving yourself 10-minute breaks in between. Again, it takes a little bit longer at the end of the night, but you're going to feel less overwhelmed. So keep good boundaries, right? Know when it's time to put something down and return to it later. Working on an essay all night, the work you get done at 2 a.m. is probably not your best work. So I wonder if perhaps we should just take a break and stop there and you return to it maybe in the morning or something. Okay, so we're working through it. And here's the point where we actually get to finish our task in the first place. So what if we have trouble getting there though, right? So some students struggle with asking for help and knowing to recognize when they need support, right? Whether it is from an EF coach, a parent, a teacher, a tutor, a friend at school or something. So students need to identify they're able to ask for help, right? So if you have trouble keeping track of, your due dates, right? Maybe instead of going to the teacher, you can ask a friend, where do I find the due dates, or do you have them, right? Kind of get yourself a little more settled. Or maybe, your EF coach can, you say, hey, I have this problem. The coach can help you figure out, what's the root of this problem? Why did this happen in the first place? What can I do in the future to help avoid it? So you can coach students to be more effective help seeking and turning themselves into better self-advocates. People who are better able to say, yes, I need help with this, and then actually get themselves those office hours or get themselves that review session are going to do better, right? At the end of the day. So again, there's lots of options. You can form a study group, you can email your teacher, you can find a study partner, tutoring, look on the internet, right? Be like, oh, I do not remember anything about Pythagorean theorem, but I'm going to, instead of just being like, I don't know what to do, I'm going to open up my textbook and I'm going to look it up in the index. I'm going to Google Pythagorean theorem basics and watch a video about it, right? I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go to office hours. So not just saying, okay, I need help. Okay, I need help. What's a solution? And making yourself go do that solution. That last one is the hardest one, I know. But again, with coaching, you can let yourself be more assertive and say, yes, I'm going to go seek out the solution and solve my own problem. So deadlines are really helpful, even fake ones, right, to help you finish on time. It's helpful that, when you understand assignment is due, you want to have enough time to complete it. We talked about earlier, right? Let's say I have an essay due at the end of the month, but I know that I have a tournament the weekend before. I'm saying that I'm not going to let myself stress about it, because if I didn't think about this ahead of time, I probably would be doing that essay the night before it's due, or I'd be trying to do it in between games at my sports tournament or something, right? And that's not good for anyone. So I'm thinking about this ahead of time and saying, okay, that just means I'm going to have to do it 2 weeks before. And telling yourself that and putting that on your calendar saying, hey, I have to work on this essay this weekend, right? So another tool, right, is giving yourself a deadline before the real deadline. So let's say you have a project due on Friday and it's like a big poster board project. We don't want to be gluing stuff to the poster board Thursday night. Let's tell ourselves we want to have it finished by Wednesday. That way, Thursday, we can take another look at it and see if there's anything else you want to add to it, right? So again, even giving yourself fake deadlines helps a lot. And sometimes too, right, if you put that in your calendar that's due on Thursday, you might just trick yourself into getting it done early anyway. Maybe you've forgotten that it was actually due on Friday after all. And again, life happens. Let's say you were planning on doing that project Thursday night. Well, let's say Thursday night, 1,000 things could happen, right? Your dog is sick, you have to take him to the vet, you end up 1,000 things, right? You run out of gas or something on the way home, and it's a whole ordeal. So having this buffer is helpful, and it allows some calibration of error and also a little bit of breathing room. Checking things off your list, right? So sometimes too, where you feel frustrated because you feel like you're not getting anything done, actually seeing a list helps. Some students like to physically check off the list. Like I'm talking paper, pencil, like a whiteboard or something. Some students can have like a little app or something, whatever you need. And make sure you write the parts of this too, right? Write an essay. That's hard because you can't even check that off until you're really, really done. What about write your first draft? Check. Proofread? Check. Second draft? Check. Okay, now I'm actually getting there, right? Even though I'm not completely done with the essay, I can see my progress. I know I'm 75% of the way there, right? And turning it in, right? That last step, turn in the essay. It's a really important one too. Don't forget about that one. So, students that do these things need to figure out how to set goals too, right? My goal is to do the essay, right? My goal is to do this project early so I can spend more time on it. Short-term goals are more digestible, right? Again, you can't just say, I want to get an A in math this semester. Well, I don't know how to do that. There's a lot of other steps before that, aren't there? So you want to have short-term digestible goals, right? So students who do those have better skills, skill development and self-efficacy too, right? Because short-term things provide them with evidence that you're doing right. Again, with that essay, right? Okay, I wrote my first draft and I proofread my first draft and edited it. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm halfway there, right? Even though I'm not finished with the essay yet, I feel that progress. And it makes it feel more manageable too, right? Okay, I have a week to do it. Monday night, I'll write my first draft. Tuesday night, I'll proofread. Wednesday night, I will do my second draft. Thursday night, I'll proofread and edit. So that means I have that final draft ready by Friday morning, right? Makes it much more manageable. And again, you want to actually encourage these students to do this. That's what these coaches are here for, right? To tell them, hey, you're doing great. Look how much you've gotten done already. And kind of showing them how this process is really beneficial in the end. So a lot of you probably heard this in your workplace. I know I hear this a lot. SMART goals, right? They're specific. Again, write that first draft. Measurable. Well, I know if I finish that or not. Attainable. I could do that in an evening. Realistic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I could see myself doing that in an evening. Timely, right? It's done by Monday night. So that's what you really want to think of here in goals, not just get an A in math, right? We want to make sure there are things that we can actually do and that we actually understand when we've done it, right? So coaches really direct their students' attentions to their victories, right? Students need to own their successes and celebrate them, right? Again, maybe let's say that essay example, maybe they get halfway there. Maybe they write the first draft and they do a little bit of editing and it kind of falls off from there and they kind of turn in that half edited first draft. That's okay. Look how much you got done this time, right? Think about the ways that you have succeeded this time and think about the things that got in your way for the second part. But again, you did so well on that first part too. Seeing that growth is incremental, right? You don't just go, having difficulties completing it at all. It's doing it perfectly in one go. So if you don't actually sit there and think about that, hey, I did well, it may not really go in your brain, right? You want to make sure you're reinforcing it that, hey, I did well in my beginning of this process. I can do the rest, right? I believe in myself here. So some of this really is also working on student self-confidence and being able to show them proof that they are getting better at these skills, that they are doing well, right, at the end of the night. So you want to think about language too, right? You want to think about external factors rather than external, but internal rather than external, sorry, right? I made the decision to do the rough draft on Monday night. That was great of me. Not, I don't know, I was tired. I don't want to do anything, right? Tie behaviors to performance outcomes, right? So rather than writing things off, it was just a hard test. No, it's okay. What happened here that made it difficult for you, right? Focus on controllable factors such as effort, right? Instead of luck or a hard test. Even though I had a difficult time with that test, I felt really good about the questions on trigonometry because I know I spent time on those. There were other questions I had trouble with, but I felt good about those because I spent time studying those. And, that's the actual proof that I did that. And look at the gains and victories, right? I get the test back and I see, yeah, I got 8 out of 9 of the trig questions correct. Maybe I struggled on the rest of the test, but the stuff that I put my attention towards worked out well in my favor. And failure is a teaching tool too, right? Again, idea behind this is coaching, right? Executive function coaching, right? We're not giving out grades. We're learning, right? Again, let's talk about that essay example again. What mistake did you make taught you something? I was good at starting this, right? I was good at doing the rough draft Monday and doing the editing Tuesday, but by Wednesday I was distracted and I just lost my impetus. What did you learn here? I need to, make sure I am actually doing it more. Maybe I need to do it in a shorter period. Maybe I need to do it Monday night, I write and edit. Tuesday night, I write my second draft or something, right? Because by middle of the week, I get really tired from school and from sports. I actually don't want to do anything on Wednesday, Thursday nights. Just thinking about these things, right? And again, being honest with the students too. Again, like, hey, you usually seem really tired on Wednesday and Thursday nights. Maybe we try to avoid having a lot of stuff to do those evenings. And curiosity too, right? So some students may push it off. They see it as a failure. Okay, I failed. I only did half of what I was supposed to do. But, not just thinking of that and giving up and being upset and overwhelmed by it, but thinking about, okay, I didn't do something right. What happened there? Being curious about it, doing that metacognition. Okay, I didn't follow through with this plan I made. I wonder why, right? Like what is stopping me? How was I feeling Wednesday when I, couldn't control my impulse to not do this, right? Thinking about behind it. So failure is gonna happen. Everyone fails one way or another. Everyone makes mistakes. Just think about, where do those mistakes come from? It's really, be curious about it. Don't beat yourself up, but just, be curious about your own brain, right? And what you're doing there. So this also teaches students to become more adaptable, right? Students learning to be less rigid and more flexible and adaptable to the moments, right? Which, often to the moment and the conditions change, right? So what worked last year for a different teacher may not work as well today. Again, maybe last year your English essays only had to be 1,000 words. That's great. I could write a rough draft on Monday night. Okay, this year, our English essays have to be 3,000 words or something. Okay, I cannot get that done in one night. I need to make sure I put my rough draft writing over the course of 3 evenings, right? Again, thinking about how do I need to change things again. Or again, maybe my laptop died Monday night. That really sucks. It's broken, it won't work. What can I do instead? Is my brother's laptop available? Does my mom have one I can use? It does, but it doesn't have the software I need on it. That's so frustrating. I have to download it. But, being able to control those emotions and regulate and be like, it's okay. I'm going to do what I can tonight. I'm going to do as much as I can. I may not get my whole 1,000 words written, but if I get 700 with the conditions, that's understandable. And that's still a success in my mind, right? So cultivate some frustration tolerance. Again, not seeing that your laptop died and completely giving up, right? That's something we want to make sure we're managing because things happen in life, right? You miss a turn. You can't freak out because you missed a turn. Or you spill your milk, right? A very classic one. What can we do to come back from that moment there? And we don't jump to fixing or solving too, right? That's a really important part here. You can't have a student struggling with something like this and then immediately just be like, oh no, you need to do this. Because then you're not really doing a coaching act. You're kind of being a teacher, being a parent almost, right? Your mom is always like, well, don't do that next time. Well, yeah, I didn't want to do it in the first place. I didn't want to make this mistake. Instead, thinking about, okay, what started that? Like, right, when you were about to do this, what stopped you? Asking questions, actively listening, right? Allowing students to complain a little bit. Students kind of need that sometimes. Not you frustrated? And I'm sure they complain to their friends, but maybe their parents don't want to hear it or something. Allowing them to have space to complain to kind of this like third party person, this coach who can really work them through these emotions and this thought process is really important as well. Students have to own their own setbacks and breakdowns, right? Where do things go wrong? Again, lots of examples. Where did things go wrong? Yeah, I'm tired on Wednesday nights. I have soccer practice until 6. I know that I have soccer practice until 6 Wednesday nights. Why did I leave that project to do till Wednesday night? That's the problem. I know that I should do it differently. That's on me, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? How can I do it next time? I can think about, okay, anything that's due on Thursday is going to have to be done Tuesday night at the latest, because Wednesday night is I just have to rest. I can't do anything at all. And there's no need for shame, right? It's okay. It happened this week. You figured out what happened, right? You understood the consequences of it. What are we going to change about it, right? Again, that ability to regulate and, go with the flow. We talked about working memory, right? So students may get derailed and distracted as they navigate their day. Again, you have math first period, you're given that worksheet for homework. How do I make sure I do that tonight? Do I write it into my agenda? Do I put it in my Google Calendar? Am I able to remember that? Do I have a certain folder that has all my homework to do tonight in it or something, right? How do I help support my working memory there? I'll probably remember when I get home, but just in case, how do I make sure I do that? Transitions can be hard too, right? Maybe as soon as you leave that math class, you are not thinking about that worksheet again. Now you're thinking about science, now language arts, now lunch. By the time you get home, you've thought about 10 other things after that math worksheet. How are you making sure those transitions aren't derailing your whole day? Students who have a lot of trouble with EF, executive functioning, may struggle with these situations, right? They can't remember what they did at the very beginning of the day. Let's say before you left for school, your mom told you that you have to wash the dog when you get home. By the time you've gone through your whole school day and stuff like that, you are not remembering that. How do we make sure we can help, right? We can work with transitions. We can make sure we're writing things down. There's all kinds of different tools here. But the first thing is saying like, yeah, I have a problem remembering that. And that's okay, right? What can I do to help myself out here? So there's all kinds of, again, organization, right? We talked about that. Organization of your thoughts, right? Okay, I remember that. I need to tell myself, hey, it's really important I remember that. My digital space, right? My physical space, how do I make sure that that comes back? So systems are part of it. How do you organize things? How do you track your homework, right? Again, we talked about that. Do you use a planner, a calendar, a list? Where and when do you use this? As soon as that worksheet is given to you, what do you do with it? That's an important part right there. Do you immediately open up that paper planner, math worksheet, Google Planner, math worksheet? Do you, again, have that folder of stuff to look at that evening? Do you put it in there immediately? What is going on there? And that's, what process works for you. Maybe you try the physical planner, but you keep leaving it at home. It's not really helpful there. Maybe it is time to find a better digital planner for yourself, right? Or vice versa. Maybe the digital planner just isn't interesting to you, or you get distracted because you're on your phone. You're going to text someone, right? Maybe you need a paper planner instead. Trying different things out is important, right? Some things don't work for some people, and that's totally fine. Again, things like that. I think, how do we manage these systems, habits, and routines? We want to build these good habits, right? So helping students understand which ones are getting in the way and which ones are helping. Okay, the paper planner honestly is getting in the way because I leave it at home so much. And then when I leave it at home, I kind of just give up on the day. I don't write anything down. I have no backup plan. And then I'm behind. So maybe the paper planner just isn't helping. Maybe it's hindering us at the end of the day, right? And so, encouraging students to be critical of their routines and habits is good, right? To be, find the one that works best for them. And making sure they follow through with it until they become automatic is important. Everyone needs their own tailored SIP system, right? Every student is different. Every person's different, right? So again, right, paper planner versus digital planner, that's a big difference for a lot of people. And again, just tons of other ways people are different, right? Some people like the Apple calendar, some people like Google Calendar. Some people have all kinds of different third-party calendars. There's so many different ways to do it. And just change, try things out, try new tools. Important thing is just trying it out and figuring out what works best for you, being open to new processes. A good system, though, is one that gets used. Doesn't matter what it is. If it seems, maybe it's just a random blank notebook that you write the date on each page and you put your homework down. A little chaotic, but if it works, right? So some students inherit systems, right? I know when I was in high school, they gave us all a planner, a paper planner, but I hated the way it looked. I hated it was so ugly. It's like, no, I don't want to use this one. So I just don't use it. Okay, no, I need to see like, why am I not using it? It's because it's really ugly or it's got really small places to write the homework. I need one that I think is cute and I think that has really big pages so I can really write my detailed homework down. Again, thinking about, why don't I like this? Why isn't it working for me? And, figuring out ways to fix those problems. And then now that I have the habit of writing in my planner, it requires less effort because I'm used to doing it, right? I'm already going to do it. She says she's handing out a worksheet. I've already got my planner out, ready to write it down. So by helping create things and make them automatic, you can start to give your attention to other things, right? I don't have to beat myself up about remembering my planner. I can say, oh, that's already taken care of. Now I can think about how can I make sure I do this worksheet and make sure I do well on it. Lots of tools, technology, right? Maybe you use a regular calendar like this. Maybe you develop some sort of oh my gosh, table for yourself, right? These are my schedules for the day. These is how urgent they are. This is about how long I think they'll take. Let's say I'm going to time them out for the evening, right? This is one way to do it. Some people see this and they hate this. Some people see this and they're like, wow, that's really interesting. I really like the idea of, showing if things are urgent or not. Some people like the other way, right? This is just another version of that, right? So totally different. So again, different ways to do this. Some people don't like this. They just want a list of tasks and they know which one is they want to do first, things like that. So you want to create a clear division of work and play as well, right? When we're working, we're playing, we're playing. So again, maybe in that schedule, we can go back, it's not in here, right? But we have breaks scheduled, that's important. But maybe we also have play scheduled, right? Maybe we do half of this stuff and then we're allowed to play video games for an hour with our friend, right? Like we already know we're going to get on Call of Duty at 9 and do some sort of campaign or something, right? So we know this ahead of time. And by, giving yourself that break, you can say, okay, so I'm only going to play for an hour at 9. So at 10, I know I have to finish, log off, go take a shower, go to bed, right? I know I have to do that. Exercise is helpful too, right? I know that people don't really like to hear this, but it is also a good way to do it, right? Because it kind of takes you away from those screens and those papers as well. Something to think about. And again, making sure you're scheduling breaks. That's important. Take a short break at least every 30 minutes or so. Active ones are good. Again, just getting away from the screen. Taking a break from looking at your screen to look at your tiny screen is super helpful. Mostly also for your eyes is not great. So maybe your break is walking the dog. Maybe it's knitting. Maybe it is taking a shower. Maybe it's having a snack. Tons of things there, right? So again, take a break and usually step away from what you're doing. Whatever it is, change position, right? If you were doing work on a book, okay, maybe you play on your phone, but you give yourself a timer though, right? Make sure you don't stay on there too long. And balancing a lot of priorities, right? This is where it gets really stressful, especially for like high schoolers and beyond, right? You're not only trying to make sure you do well in school, you're stressed about college applications. You want to make sure that your girlfriend isn't mad at you. You want to make sure that you spend enough time with your little sister, that you eat well, that you go exercise, right? You also want to read the latest book in the series that just came out. And you want to make sure that you go play soccer this weekend. I don't know, right? So there's so many things going on. How do you balance all of these? Well, you're not just incorporating the schoolwork into this planning, incorporate the rest of it, right? I haven't hung out with my little sister in a while. We're going to go get Starbucks after school on Thursday. That works. What I'll do is I'll do some of my homework on Wednesday, so I have time to do that on Thursday with her. Again, this is the kind of functioning stuff that applies to all parts of your life and makes everything go a little bit more smoothly. Balance is different for everyone too, right? Again, some people balance, they really need to highlight sports, right? That's a big part of their lives. What needs to go on the wayside sometimes, right? Some people it's academics. There's tons of different ways this could happen, but everyone's different mostly is the point. So you want to reduce the load, right? You want to help remove major distractions. Again, just not even let the distractions come in. Decrease the schedule if there's too much there. Maybe it's just not possible for you to play football and also be on the golf team or something, right? At the same time. It's just not going to work. You might need to pick one or the other. Being thoughtful about the academic burden, right? So, say, hey, you're taking 5 APs. That's cool, but that's a lot of homework. Is there anything you could lighten up, right? Maybe one class, you don't take the AP version of it. Maybe it'll be all right. And again, less is more with activities, right? And also you want to think about for college admissions and for mental health, right? College admissions, less is more. Mental health too, right? At the end of the day, if playing both golf and football stresses you out so much, it's not worth it, right? So make sure you go where there's things that you truly enjoy and drop things that you have on there as a resume filler and application filler. It's going to be fine, I promise. Without it, it's more important to take care of yourself. So I know that was a lot, right? I told you it's a little bit of a long presentation, but I'm excited to get to talk to you guys. So every student is different, right? So let us here at Appleruth make a custom recommendation for your student. So we have advisors at this number. They talk about academic tutoring, test prep, and executive function coaching. So we do a little bit of everything here. And then let me pause here for just a moment. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's see. So I have a link if you want to schedule an appointment in here. I just put that in the chat, but I'm not sure if it went through. But either way, you can also call the phone number as well if you're interested in making an appointment to talk with any of our advisors. As a note, we're also having a summer sale. Got to mention it, right? On any of the test prep tutoring. So that's PSAT, SAT, ACT, IC, SASAT, SHSAT, GRE. So you can always buy now and use later as well. So if you know you're going to take the PSAT, obviously in October, you can go ahead and get that ready now for later on. Again, another plug for EF coaching. Here's our diagnostic package, right? So a little more details about that. And time for that great Q&A as well. Okay, you guys should have gotten that link to schedule an appointment. Perfect, okay, cool. So can you forward these slides to us via email? So I don't think I can do the slides, but you will get a recording of the presentation. Not quite the same, but you should be able to pause and read as needed. You can always mute me if you don't want to hear me. Yes, another person asked about the slides. Yeah, so yeah, they will forward over. The recording will be there and you go have as much time as you want to look at that. It should be like an MP4 file. So you want us to go back to the slide. Go back a little bit for you. Okay, someone wanted to see the summer sales slide. There's that one for you. So again, you can save up to $1,500, depends on how many hours you purchase. I'm not sure the details of the numbers there. But that's if you're interested in any of those tutoring things. Again, the hours are good for forever. So if you know you have a student taking an ACT in the spring, you'll be able to get those now and save them for later. And someone also asked about the EF coaching. So the rates for EF coaching, I don't have the detailed rates off the top of my head, but the diagnostic package is a good way to start, right? So it's $150. You are able to take this kind of diagnostic test, which is really interesting. And then you also get a consultation and a custom plan made with you, kind of see if you think this will be something useful for you. Do we also offer support for adults? I believe so. I'm not 100% sure actually on that, but I know we definitely offer it for college and graduate students. So I don't see why I wouldn't offer it for adults if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, and someone said how to start right here, right, with our diagnostic package if you're interested. I would say too, right, as you read, if you go back and look at the recording of this presentation, you may have noticed in the bottom of a lot of the slides, there are references. If you know you're not sure where to go from that, a lot of these books are really interesting. Some of the quotes, some of the examples and things like that came from those. So definitely recommend going back through the presentation and checking out those citations at the bottom. They're really helpful and interesting. Yes, if your student is a freshman in college in another state, do we offer coaching? Absolutely, yeah. So we do online coaching. We do in-person in some locations, but very specific, but yeah, absolutely. Online coaching is totally an option here. I'll stick around for any other questions. If you want to go back and see a slide, you can always let me know. Again, I know it's a really long presentation, but hopefully it got, got to some of the interesting points about, thinking about thinking. Tallahassee, I don't believe that one's in person, unfortunately. Our current markets are Atlanta, DC, New York, Seattle. I believe that's it. I think also a little bit of Chicago and Houston, but unfortunately not Tallahassee. But again, the online stuff, we use Zoom for all of our online programs. We have a really robust online tutoring and coaching staff here that really helps. Yeah, happy to have you guys here. Thank you.